Welcome to Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension.
Welcome to another podcast episode of Merkaba Chakras. I'm your host, Vaughn Galt, and today we talk with author of Love from Heaven, host of YouTube's Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena, and director of Academy of Divine Wisdom School of Ascension, Miss Tamara Richardson. Now, love never dies, and even when our loved ones cross over into the spirit world, we can still talk to them, and Tamara is going to show us how. So with that, Tamara, welcome to Merkaba Chakras.
Yay, I am so happy to be here, and I think that what you're doing is spectacular on this show and enlightening and assisting others on their journey.
Well, thanks for taking the invitation. Now, Tamara, you are a 6-time near-death experiencer, multiple spirituality transformative and ultra-dimensional experiencer, Christ channeler, and international evidential medium, otherwise known as the Southern Belle Medium. So now a lot of the listeners are from Russia, India, and Asia. So they might know what a Southern Belle is, but in the United States, it's the southern part of the United States. They call them Southern Belles.
Thank you. Yes, that's pretty much so it. Yes.
So before we get into your work, can you tell us your story for how you even got into this?
Yes, I think a lot of my spiritual journey and my awakening started before I was even born. And it really, the catalyst was my near-death experiences. And I know that might, to some, sound frightening, but it really wasn't. It was an amazing experience to go through this. It could have been something else, like a Kundalini awakening, which I've had that too. But early on, I began to see spirit people after I had a prenatal, and I remember my mom not almost carrying me and following her and watching her outside of my body and the whole thing. And I just felt love for her. And then at 3, when I was playing hide and seek in an old 2-story home with my, I was 3 years old, so I was small, and my cousin, and we were playing hide and seek. I ran upstairs. I was looking for a place to hide, and I'm jumping around, and I hit my head under a dresser. And there was a nail on it. It went through my head and it pierced my skull. And so immediately I went out of my body, and I could see in multiple directions. I could see in the house, different rooms, outside, all at once. I also saw an angelic being over my head healing me. And through that whole experience, to kind of fast forward that, I literally had a hole in my head, in my skull, because they can't sew it up, for 2 years. So that really opened my crown chakra, not to make a joke, but it really did. And I was able to see into the spiritual realms. And
how old were you then?
That was when I was 3. And then I had one at 4, 5, 10, and 28. And so I feel like that I was checking in with home base. Now I know I can just astral travel and go there. But apparently when I was smaller, I had to do these things to check in and get basically kind of my mission update every time that I would go. So, and it did remove my filters, because when you've been dead and you've been purely spirit, my last one at 5 for a couple hours, 15 minutes dead on arrival of pneumonia. And then a couple hours on and off, I was declared dead. And then they saw me breathing, put me in a induced coma. 3 days I was in that, and that's where I spent it with Yeshua. And I spent it with him. He was my teacher, and he told me all about manifestation and different things. And I still talk to him, but he brings me other people and people from other religions, and I talk to them too, because they're all over there, right? I mean, it's just one happy spiritual community with no separation.
Right. I cracked my head as a baby too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, girl.
Really? So you opened your crown chakra. You're like, I'm going to open this thing up now.
We're the cracky head babies.
Really? Okay. I know it's actually, you're interviewing me, but I'm curious. How old were you when that happened?
I think it was like either 2 or 3. I was
You
a
gotta be
baby.
kidding. That is funny. Well, I'm not surprised because we, have come from different directions, and we're like on the same page. And I mean, it's really interesting. Really.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
That'll do it.
let me ask you this. Is there a difference for your near-death experience as a baby than as an adult? From you've died 6 times and had communication with higher beings in the spirit world, like Yeshua, Ben Yosef, or otherwise known as Jesus in some Western religions, amongst others. Is there like a difference?
Well, sure it is, because as a child, you see as a child, right? And you can only see, and that, I mean, that is actually biblical too, but it's true. You can only see things as a child would. So when I was explained things like at 5, when I was in this place, it looked like a pasture. It was beautiful. Was it created for me? Sure it was. Did it exist? Sure it did on some level. It was beautiful. And he explained about how our thoughts are things, and that we must be mindful of our thoughts because they manifest, and we want to make sure we manifest the things that our heart truly desires, and not to get an outcome that we don't want. And he said that we need to be more careful also when we speak words, not only our intention, but when we speak words, that they have power. And so we need to be careful and select in our words that they're more healing. So he couldn't use words like manifest. He would say like create. And it was more simple, but I did get it. And he gave me examples and so forth. As an adult, I saw things more with complexity. Like when I was 28, I had a reaction to it was a pill. It was a prescribed pill. It was for menstrual migraines. And I had a reaction. A lot of near-death experiencers, the after effects is they're very sensitive to taking drugs or to detergent. Like I can't just have detergent. I'm just very sensitive to stuff. And so, I don't like chemicals and I like natural things. But anyway, I was 28 and had this reaction, woke up. I was like, what's going on? I felt like alarm was going off and I couldn't talk. I could barely move, but yet somehow I got out of the bed, turned on the TV because I thought it would help me to follow consciousness of someone speaking. But I ended up very, very shortly after that, not caring. And I started hearing this white noise sound like, psst, and then I didn't know it was male or female. And next thing you know, I saw the entire living room break into white lines. And it started decoding, kind of like the Matrix, but this is way before the Matrix. And it started turning into white lines, and then I'm in the galaxy. But I knew it didn't take that much. It was just a pill. I'm just having a very bad reaction. So I pushed my finger on my thigh till I came back in. So I was actually bilocational. I was on the sofa there, and I like nebulas. That's why I got one behind me. I had to go see a nebula. I really did. I remember not being male or female or knowing my name, but I really wanted to see this nebula, and that's where I was. So I felt more in complexities, at the same time, more simple things. Like I was, as a child, I asked a lot of things. As an adult, I was just okay to be. And the whole I am, which I like the I am series. That'll get you high if you want to, you want to astral travel. The I am series, I'll do it. And I am, you are, it is. And just to be a part of that existence of consciousness. And I didn't question so much, but allowed the beauty of this journey. So it's just another experience. We label things as being good or bad when sometimes they're just part of the journey.
And, when you had your near-death experience, one of your near-death experiences, and you met with Yeshua, you said it was 2 months, was what you think it was, but it was actually 3 days that you spent speaking to this person, the teacher?
It was 3 days I was in a coma. I spent with him in human time, but it felt like years.
It felt like years.
It felt like many years that I spent with him, and we walked and we talked. He did say when I kept going back to the hospital room, checking in my body, and they were taking stuff out of my body and like in my lungs, they were removing liquids and so forth. And I thought as a kid, I went, ooh, that's gross. So I left the room. But I remember a lot of medical terms. My mom actually did not tell me any of this happened. She said I had a sore throat. This is a lot more than a sore throat. So I actually gently confronted her 3 years ago and mentioned this and what happened. And she was like, it must have been a thing. She swore not to talk about it. And she goes, how do you know all this? And so I said, it's okay. I'm here. It's all cool. Don't worry about it. But I would go back and check on the body. But when finally then it did happen, I was immediately in another existence. And I think the divine Mother, Father, God, loves us so much. There's a love. We're never separated. And I feel that as a child, that it would have been comforting. And that's why I was met by Yeshua, because my grandmother said, you can talk to him. And I was like, I don't know this guy, but apparently he's friendly. So he was there in this beautiful place because they were giving me a kind, non-scary experience, and then also where I could learn. So when I came back, I could bring value. I was also told my mission. And I said no.
What was your mission?
My mission was to bring, it was a couple things. Number one, I was supposed to bring heaven back on earth. And I said, that's just too big. I can't do that. And I said no. And he reassured me there was a lot of people that were going to help with this. And I was like, I don't know these people. Okay. I'm like really difficult. So I argued for a while. And then he also said I needed to come back and show my mother love because he said she had so very little love for herself. I had to show her. And I said, I don't really know how I'm supposed to do this. And he goes, there's no right way or wrong way of showing love. But then I realized later on in life that I had to love her despite I knew that I found out many, many, many years later, actually kind of somewhat recently, that she knew all this time I was being sexually abused, but yet I was supposed to love her because she did not have the inner strength to be able to combat that or say no. So I was somewhat like a sacrificial lamb, and I had to love despite all of that and the abuser. If he told me all that at the time, I probably would have said no. But I agreed to that because we do live forever and love does conquer all. And when you look at someone who's really broken and the decisions they made and they base it off of fear, there's a mercy that I felt and a sadness and a kindness.
Yeah, I have a couple questions in your near-death experience. First of all, there is the notion that some people say that if you die and you see that white light or that tunnel or whatever, all the above, and you go into that, it's a trap to get your soul and put you back into reincarnation, and you come back to Earth over and over again, and you never go to heaven. You come back into the Earth slave planet. This reincarnation cycle is a slave cycle, so don't go into the light. Some people said that. What do you want to say about that? Since you've died 6 times and seen the light.
I would very much so like to respond to that. And I have heard that before. So a lot of people don't know this. I probably never have said this publicly. But I feel comfortable to say it. And it feels like I'm getting the go ahead to say it now, that I was involved 16 years with Scientology. And part of that was told to me to not go to these places because they were implant stations. So this is what I say to you. Have you ever met someone and they come across very, very nice, but your gut says don't trust them because it's a false face and they actually aren't? Yes. But then you have someone else that maybe they don't even look as well put together, but you can trust them with all the money that you own. You could give it to them to trust. I think that there's false lights. And the thing is, do you understand? They're both. Is the answer I'm getting right now is that there's both. But the thing is, when you go into a form of love and you have a love and a humility for all that is and the one that is, God doesn't make mistakes. It's still about that in this world too, is always following your heart. And when you don't, it doesn't go well. So the same thing is true. It's a false light. There are implant stations apparently. And
what is it? What is an implant station?
Implant stations. They're forgetter stations where you forget this life you've had and all that. Guess what? It didn't work on me because I've already done 365 hours of past life. That didn't work on me. Okay. It didn't take at all. So, and the stuff I get's evidential because that's just how I like to think. And I'm trained as an evidential medium. So the spirit world and the ultra dimensionals know I like to get proof. So they give me things that I can check on for the proof. But I don't think people need to worry about this, about a beacon but that's what they are. They're sending out a beacon. It's just like it. I think that when you're divinely connected, how do you do that? Surrender and say, I am a child of the Most High. It's all good. You're not going to have a problem. I don't think there is trickery, but there's trickery in this world.
Yeah. Well, the Buddhists would say that you can go into the spirit world and experience what's in the spirit world, or you can go further into spirit world and just go back to source itself, go to the spiritual emptiness of source, where all things come from and out of that consciousness. And the spiritual emptiness is kind of like a blue screen, but it's like a black screen. It's like there's no light, there's no energy, there's no physicality, there's no nothing, because all that is the creation process that souls get to experience through. So the spiritual emptiness of what we call nirvana. Out of nirvana comes samsara, the existence and all that is in the existence that you can experience. So, but if you were to reincarnate or choose to reincarnate in anything in samsara, in existence, you do go through the spirit world to consult with what they call a life planner, so that you can plan out of the infinite different experiences that you can have, out of the infinite embodiments of physicality that you could have. You're going to experience only so much, just kind of like you could only do so much on your vacation. So you kind of want to consult with a vacation consultant, a tour guide, to make sure.
It's very similar.
It's very similar, because that's why we call, in Buddhism, that's why we call life a sojourn. It's a journey. It's like a vacation. Now, some people like to plan really crappy vacations for themselves. Some people like really good vacations. Just like when you go to a travel agent, they say, okay, where do you want to go? Okay, you want to go on this island. Wonderful. In these islands, these are the things that are available for you to experience. What kind of excursions do you want? Do you want some downtime to experience and just kind of explore? Do you want to have a couple of life lessons so that you can at least spiritually evolve and work on a couple of things while you're here? That was all of that. So, and everything in existence goes through the spirit world and plans these aspects, because you literally have infinity to choose from in the brochure. So what do you want to experience? It's a lot.
I think it depends if you want to be on the slow track or the medium track or the fast track.
And there's no right or wrong.
And there's no right or wrong. Because there's no time. I mean, you can get there when you get there. It doesn't matter. It's just like some people say, no, we'd rather take 3 days to drive to Florida or whatever it is, or some people say, no, I just want to take an airplane and be there in like an hour and a half. So there is no right or wrong answers, but I guess I wanted to fast track it because I like adventure. And I wanted my answers. So I wanted it to all kind of come together. I will say that what you're mentioning, and even though we laugh about it and jest, it really is similar to that. Is where you meet with, it could be your council of elders, your guides, your team. You'll know them instantly as soon as you see them, instant recognition. You'll know who they are. And what's interesting to kind of support this whole thing is I had a mother-in-law. She passed away about 4 years ago, but she was a very traditional Christian, religious, simple, very sweet mother. Okay. She hadn't had a lot of culture and whatever, a very kind, loving person, very giving. She gave to we'd have people, all different nationalities come over for Christmas because they had no home and she'd want to feed them. She was a good woman. But when she had a near-death experience before she passed, she passed a few years later, but she had a near-death experience in the hospital. It was a close scare. She had a Native American guide, was in the field, and she saw in the field, and he says he wouldn't look at her. He goes, "Not your time," and he wouldn't look at her. So she comes back saying, "This guy was my guide," knowing that was not taught this information. This was not in her religious vocabulary at all. Yet she knew him to be her guide, and he could not confront her at that moment because it was not her time. So we have a staff, I call them Team God, but we have a staff of people that assist with us. And at that time, they go through this, it's like an IMAX, 3-dimensional, all at one time, going at one time, different parts of your life all at once. So it's a life review. And then as we experience, and some things are more painful, and there's counselors to help you through these moments. And it may take longer than some. You may have to stop at this section, go through it. When you're finally done, they ask you these questions like, what do you want to do next? What would be helpful? And you can say, well, it was really hard being a female this time because I really didn't want to take care of a bunch of kids. And they said, what would you like? And then you're just like, well, I'd like to be a bachelor for a while. I'd like to be a guy or whatever. You get free will, and they work with you to come up based on your past incarnations. However, I feel like that there is a system, and it's the way of things. It's like the circle of life. Plants, they're seeded in the flowers and they come back, such as we do. But I also think that a portion of us stays in the etheric realms. And I've seen myself on different planets at the same time. I think we control multiple bodies here on another planets because we are not singular. We are not, but we think in singular and A to B mindset, but this is not how this is. We talk pre-show about the metaverse, but I feel as though that we are so big that we are existing on other planes at the same time as now, and other time periods, all coexisting. Blow your mind, all at the same time. So it's not just the one life we're looking at, it's how they coexist with one another. But I feel like now we're at somewhat of a different time they give me this word of convergence. So it's where different timelines are converging and that our higher self is coming together, and something really exciting is getting ready to happen. Hello. And then people like us are coming together, and we're setting our true self, and all our different versions of ourselves are becoming, we fragmented ourselves because we thought we were too powerful. And now we're coming back into our divine power and who we are, hoping that we have the maturity, right? So, and as one person works on themselves spiritually, then that affects like a spiritual ocean, a ripple that others do as well. And so we're on this beautiful journey together. And at some point, again, someone can be further back in the line or further up ahead. We're all on this journey together, and it's affecting us all in this beautiful way. And the people that resist it is they just don't understand that this is a really great experience that's about to happen with us converging together and spiritually being heightened, our vibration and our memory coming to us. And I think that people that have near-death experiences, like I've had so many, it gets rid of the filters that stop us from growing spiritually and opens you up. But it also helps you remember where you came from. We're not originally from here.
Right. Now, the other thing that I had a question about your near-death experience is, as a child, you were sexually abused. And this seems to be a common occurrence in some cultures as compared to others. I cannot speak about this because I have not had this experience. And so, but I do have clients that have had this experience and known people who've had this experience of being sexually abused by typically a family member.
Yes.
So one of the hardest things about this life lesson specifically is when you go into hypnosis or meditation and you go into reincarnation and your pre-life planning. The hardest thing to see is, why would this be an aspect of the pre-life plan? And what do you learn from it? So did you ever do any kind of exploration as to what was the point of you being sexually raped by a family member as a child? What was the life lesson there?
Well, it wasn't really, I don't want to say the word rape. When you have a pedophile and a pervert, and that is a word, we're not gonna soften that word, okay? Is that it's more creepy than that. It's like it was basically, if you want to call it good against dark, so to like burn out my light and my purpose in the world. We always have in any good movie, there's always an opponent, there's always an obstacle. And so it was to belittle me, and it's belittle and control through it was control. Okay. And to make one feel less. Mm-hmm. And it was also perverted stuff. Like when I was growing breast, as you know, what girls do around between 11 and 13. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, well, I'll take you to get the bra. And I know all about these things. So it was more perverty kind of, you know what I'm saying? And then it was being held down and different things. And it was really quite sinister. And so why would someone go through that? Why would someone agree to cancer? No one agrees to these things. I mean, after all, put it in perspective, we live forever. Mm-hmm. Why? I think they agreed to the lesson of humility and learning to understand people. One of the things I feel I'm good at is being able to empower people that feel like they're victims. I said, if you're a victim, you decided to be that way, because we can be a victor, because no one has power over us unless we agree to that. And so I feel like that if someone tells me you don't understand, I'm like, oh, yes, I do. I do understand. And I'm saying I reject that and I decide to live empowered. So the human spirit is something that always fascinates me. It's quite undestroyable. And so I think that in that lesson, for me, I felt in the end, I was actually taking care in some ways with him at the hospital and spending time with him. And it was awful. I felt horrible for them, because when you see someone is broken spiritually, it just doesn't, the anger just can't stick. It's just sad. And I'm okay, but they're not. So I think there's lessons and things, but we don't know the lesson. We just agree to get a lesson, but we don't know the form the lesson will come in.
Okay. Very well put. And then in terms of healing this trauma, because there's a lot of really wonderful people who've gone through these kind of traumatizing experiences of sexual abuse, molestation, pedophilia, whatever you want to call it. I don't really like to use the words because I think they hide the act. And when you say the act straight out, then that's the lesson that you're like, oh, that's not good. Not going to do that. Never going to let that happen.
Yeah, because I kind of filled it in a little bit. I don't want to gross anyone, because I believe, let's keep it positive. But I was held down. I would run under the bed and be pulled out. I would hide in the closet and stick coat hangers through to get away. But I was a little person. But what I'm saying, in the end, I felt sorry for the perpetrator. But there was manipulation mentally, but there was also physical. But the thing is, we're so much more than that. We've lived forever. There's grace within us.
Right. So how does one who goes through such traumatizing childhoods, how do they heal that childhood trauma in themselves so that it doesn't come out as bad behavior as an adult onto themselves or onto other people, or attracting similar types of relationships?
Well, I think it's back to free will and choice again. I had an example of what a bad person was. Okay. I'm just going to call it that. Let me use my childhood terms. That's not a good person. And also, so, wow, that's a man. I don't like that kind of man. That's not a good example of a good man. A good man would take care of their family, protect their family, love their family, not say harsh words, not do harsh things, and be an advocate for them. So I don't like this person. So I used to pray to God at night as a kid. I didn't know better. I would pray and I would say, if this is what I have to have, I don't want it. I would want someone that is kind and has purity and that loves me for me, and that I would feel safe with no matter what. And they would put their life before mine because their love would be so great. And that's what I got.
So it did teach you a lot about yourself and a lot about what you want to attract in your life in terms of a relationship.
Yes. And also people. I said, I do not want people that I also said, I also made a statement. I refuse to be a victim. I will not be around anyone that's a victim. And then early on, when I was young in junior high school days, I would get the energy vampires. Or they would, oh, poor me, and it's my story. And I would feel sorry for him because I was really nice. So it would take me a while to figure out they're just stealing my energy. They're doing this on purpose. They really don't want to change. They really don't want my help.
There's an addiction to drama too.
Addicted to drama.
There's lots of kinds of addictions. It's not just alcohol and drugs. There's addiction to drama.
Come on now. That is some truth right there.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have addictions to drama because drama makes that you create the drama and then they have the hero. They got the hero thing. Like somebody save me. There's always love, unconditional love. Everybody's always so bracing and loving and caring and want to check on you and make sure you're taken care of. And that's great. But then when it's over with, you got to create a whole new drama to get that back.
Get it back, right?
Okay, because you're looking outwards for the love and attention instead of feeling it inwards without having to create the drama to get that back.
And I think a lot of people that are kind and loving, they naturally want to help people, but there are people out there that genuinely are good people, but they may be down and out or they need help temporarily. And they'll get back up on their feet and they're fine. And that's okay. And I think that's good. But
everybody goes through that too.
At some point we all do. At some point we're going to all need someone. We just need to admit it at some point, whether it's now or when we're old or whatever, I don't know, but we're that. And that's okay to be that way, to help people and even give more than you thought. But there are people that are just takers.
Chronic.
And they're going to take your mind, take your finances, take your whatever. And so I realized that I had to really protect my energy after this event. And I had to be very select with being around people that were only positive and supportive and loving to me because I went through too much crap already.
Let me ask you this, to kind of close out this very dramatic healing empowerment exercise through being sexually abused as a child. You astral travel, which you can also do this through hypnosis. You could do this through meditation, but it's kind of a version of biolocation. But have you ever, through your consciousness, gone back into time to the first incident and then talk to yourself to empower yourself? Like almost if you had a chance to coach yourself, hey, if uncle comes to and does this is what you're going to say, and this is how you're going to act, and so forth, and seeing if that makes a difference. And here's the reason why I asked that, because I do quantum hypnosis and I get starseeds that had, not all of them, but some that's had sexual abuse, rape, or molestation, or a combination of the above. And I don't sugarcoat anything. The acts are everything above in porn, but with little kids. It's horrendous. And they come in and they want to go to the next level of the spiritual evolution, but they have to heal this inner child that's been wounded, that they have carried on as an adult and manifested in terms of what kind of relationships they've attracted, how they take care of themselves, the kind of careers that they attract themselves, all of the different things that they've created the world have been slightly influenced by this wound that they've never fully addressed. And so they come into my office at 40, 50, 60, crying like a baby because they're back at that time when they have to address this because they haven't fully addressed and healed and overcome it yet as an adult. And it's the thing that's holding them back on their spiritual evolution, because you can't carry this into the higher dimensions of consciousness. You have to heal it.
Perfect. You can't, you have to handle it.
You have to handle it.
First thing you're going to handle once you get over there. It doesn't go.
It doesn't go there. Like so So we've done this exercise, do meditation, do hypnosis. If they can't do it through the hypnosis or through astral travel or lucid dreaming, where they go back to that child and they give themselves pointers. And I will speak on their behalf before the hypnosis or before the exercise that they do. Okay, when we get to this part, this is what I'm going to say to the child, et cetera, et cetera. They do this and they continue the meditation and the exercise in lucid dreaming of coaching, going back into time through consciousness and coaching themselves, and have come back going, my family member who molested me doesn't remember that it was as long as I remembered it to be. Okay. So something happened in all these exercises where it was shortened. It wasn't as severe or it wasn't as long. And they're going, hey, I already said I'm sorry to you. I don't know what you're talking about. It wasn't that, like, honestly, it happened once or twice, but this incident didn't happen. This incident happened, and they have other people verified. So it's almost like they changed their history. It still happened, but because they learned their lesson in the future now reality through consciousness, went back to that past reality, coached your younger self in those situations. Because you already learned the lesson, you don't need to continue to carry on the course.
The karma changes on it.
And so what changes, because they changed that, they have healed that in the present future now, it changed the past, and now the back history is completely changed. And then the current version of their relationship and the people around them have a slightly different back history, and the way that they are slightly different as well. And that's what we call Mandela effects.
It really does do that.
So,
I did
have you
something
done that?
similar.
Okay,
Yeah.
what did you do to do it? Because I like to give people like nuggets of like
No, that's a
tools
great.
that they can
This
use.
is good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always doing spiritual exercises, but what I've done in the past. Now, look, I will say that to be able to, I'm going to just tell you what I did to be able to handle it. I didn't talk about this because, like most people, if it's family, you're still trying to protect family. It's weird. You're like, why am I protecting these people? And then part of you's embarrassed, like, well, I don't want people to know I went through that. So I would read lots of self-help books. Okay. That I did that. Then I got involved. I did the auditing through Scientology. That helps them. But then what I would do is I would take my higher self, in the astral state, and then I would go visit at that time. I would go back in time when I was a little girl, and I would go talk. I would first observe how she felt, who she was, the essence of who I was. But it was like the little girl me, and I would feel how she felt. And then I would talk to her. Well, what was happening is that the little girl, I was actually making this really happen. But I would go back in time, and the little girl thought an angel was talking to her, but it was really me. And I was saying, you're going to get past this. You're going to have a great life. This person is broken. You've just got a couple more years of this and you're done with this. And guess what? You have a fantastic life and people that really love you. And you won't believe it now, but one day you're going to feel so, so sorry for this broken, wretched soul. And just you walk high. This doesn't define you. And you're better than this. And you're so loved. And what happens is not only does it affect you, but everyone around you in present time is different now. It's almost like it never happened. It's like they treat you differently. There's a shift. But on the other side, if these people have crossed over, for example, my stepdad, he's crossed over now. It's 5 years. But I'll have to say this. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to come clean. He was a ghost for about 4 years. And he tried to harass me as a ghost. I don't know if you've ever heard that one. That was new. And that came up.
He didn't want to cross over?
Oh, no, he wanted to stay here and control people. Well, get this. I had a shaman friend, Kelly, come over and he said, well, let's do some childhood healing. I said, okay, sure. She said, well, I'm going to ask you things that are phrases that people have said to you that was very demeaning, and then we're going to release them. I said, okay. So as we did, what happened is he showed up. He showed up basically, and he was very bold and kept talking about how much he loved me. And then it got weird. And I just never knew. He was like in love with me as a little kid. It's really creepy stuff. Okay. But I never knew that. She called on and I went, and then I realized, well, and it said, you need to leave. He got angry. And then I realized he was a ghost. So what I did is I went through, because the funeral had just happened maybe 2 weeks before then. I had all these pictures out. You have to get pictures for the funeral, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking, all the picture, he's looking at me through the years. And I went, oh my God, I never knew. So I changed that. I said, the creator, mother, father is my father, not you. And I'm going to change that. And so I disagree with the behavior, and I'm going to create a new beginning. And so I took everything that was that, I thought it was tainted, and I burned it, and I put it in the ground, and I did prayers. And I said, it goes back to the earth and it's no more. Well, she said, that's exactly what we're supposed to do as a shaman. I didn't know, but that's what I felt like I should do. And then I let that go, and I kept trying to get him to cross over. In the meantime, my mom, who doesn't talk about these things we do, she just doesn't. Okay. She's more simple, and she doesn't talk about these spiritual matters. She's said, I'm really upset. I need to talk to you. I said, what's going on? And she doesn't talk about stuff like this. So it was kind of rare. She goes, I'm having dreams and I'm feeling like I'm being harassed by your stepdad. And I went, exactly what? She goes, well, now it's in the kitchen. I'm feeling blowing on my ear. He was intimidating, just like he did in life. And I said, do you want to get rid of that? And he goes, yes. And I said, well, we did. I said, I'll say it with you, but you have to help me. I said, you tell him until he crosses over and gets a better attitude, he's not welcome around you, and you forbid it. But you have to say this. It has to come from you. I can help, but you have to do it. And then my sister, he was doing the same thing. She woke up and he was curled around her. I've had people not want to cross over before the other way because their perpetrators, their molesters are on the other side. I said, they're not that way anymore. They couldn't be there. They couldn't be there if they were. They're all better now. It's okay. But that was,
there's a healing team. There's a healing team on the spirit world.
It is a healing team, and they're all supportive of us. They're very supportive.
Yeah. Very, very good. I like to, that is awesome. And so just for everybody who's listening, who's had some sexual abuse or physical abuse or some kind of injustice happen to you, you can change your present trajectory by doing these consciousness exercises and going back in time through your consciousness. And basically, if you can't rewrite it, you can heal it by talking to yourself, coaching yourself through it, or working through it. You can even, through your consciousness, because we're all connected, go to the little kid version of the perpetrator to isolate where they fell off and give them the healing, give them the love, and say, whatever happened to you that caused you to follow this trajectory, you're going to say no to it. You're going to tell the person that influenced you to become like this, that you don't want this either, and that you deserve more. So you can go in that line of conversation and literally stop that person's future experience before they become your present past experience. So we're doing a little bit of time travel with the consciousness here. And by doing all this healing through time, and through everyone that we're connected to, we actually change physical reality, whereby the people around us are a little bit different. The environment is a little bit different. And the history is a little bit different. So it's almost like our present reality is a result of our future healing.
Well, it doesn't carry the weight when you get rid of the anger and the emotion and think about it. When you go back to, let's say, like I did my younger self and had these talks and whatever, that I changed things, but I came I came consciously I came aware in my free will, and I said, no, I don't want this. And this is how it's going to be instead. And I took charge. But I did run a lot of past life with my stepdad, and he has been like this multiple times. And so I had a talk with him afterwards too. And I said, we're not doing this again.
You gotta learn your lesson at some point.
We're not, this medieval times, this kept going on and on. I said, I'm not, even on other planets, I said, I'm not going to play this game with you. It's a very downtown game. I'm bored. I'm not doing this anymore. I am not playing this game. I'm breaking the chain with that I'm done. And I wish you well, but we're done with our cycle. Thank you. You can do that too, you know.
Yep. And that's the lesson. That's the lesson. You outgrew the game. You're ready for higher experiences and higher relationships.
And you can do that really with anyone. If you know that you're in a family member, whether it be a sibling or whoever it is, a cousin, whoever it may be, not necessarily a parent, but it could be a brother, sister, or some other kind of relation. And or it could be someone you're married to. I don't know. Realize this is not working. This is a weird game. You can just decide not to play it. And when people say, well, how can you do that? They're always this way. You know, you don't play the game. What do? You just go, you see through the game and you smile and you nod, give them love. Does that mean you need to be around them? Maybe not. Yeah. But you can give them love and go, okay, well, thanks a lot. I'm glad you shared that. Bye. You can refuse to get into a combative situation, and we can change that. I put things out to people out into the ether. Oh, they get it. Okay, I'm not doing that. If you want to play nice, we'll talk. If you don't, then it's okay. I'll just leave you alone and wish you well.
Right. Very well put. The other thing that's also, because there's so many different modalities in order for us to basically heal and learn our lessons much faster from these old childhood past time experiences that we go through, and basically changing our physical reality now is you can do past life meditation. You can lucid dream into different past lives to kind of get a insight of where did this relationship happen in my past incarnations. You could do quantum hypnosis. There's a lot of different hypnosis modalities that go into past life regression. But basically, when you do enough of those exercises over and over again, the people in your life now, for the most part, have been in your life, in your existence, in other realities, in other planets, in other lifetimes. And your best friend may be your best friend multiple times because you guys just like to go on the adventures together. You know, you and your spouse, all these different things. So go into past life regression. And if you're having one of these challenging relationships of abuse, of torment, of trauma, they probably are recurring from a different lifetime, and you guys just haven't figured out how to resolve this. So what you were saying about when you had enough of that game and you're over it, it's kind of like when somebody finally gets to the point where they're like, I'm divorcing you. And I don't care if you take more than half the house and the cars and the dog or anything else. I'm through. Take it. I just want to be clean and free.
Yeah, it's spiritual boundaries. It's spiritual boundaries. You have to love yourself to say, look, I love myself for no good reason. Is because I'm here and I'm love. And I'm not doing this anymore because it's not positive. It's not helping either one of us to play this downtown cosmic game. And I'm out.
Yeah. And that's one of the ways in which, one of the easiest ways in which you can keep somebody's personal frequency down and their consciousness down is to continue to do these personal psyops within your families, within each other. And we also do this in the community. We do this globally. We do this planetarily. There are all these different psyops that basically bring down our consciousness because there's all this trauma that we're focused on. We're not focusing on the higher stuff. So I love that. That was really healing for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are like, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because that's what my hang up is, to get to the fifth dimension, the consciousness. So
Just
let's
decide that, it's like when you have a goal, if you really are passionate about something and you really want to do it, right? You're not going to let someone stand in your way. There are people that are so poor, but yet somehow they put themselves through college. It's because they decide. Or haven't you ever seen two different that come together that want to be married or together, and the families are like, no, don't do it. But they love each other. They're like, we're going to make it work. They might not even start out with any money at all, but they somehow make it work. It's our decision to make things go right. If we really want something, it's very little that can stop us. Right. And we are in agreement. And I even think that goes with our health. Are we in agreement? When all these negative things that you hear about that's going on in the news, you know what I say? I'm not saying it's not going on. I'm sure it is. Probably worse things that I could ever imagine that would make my hair curl, right? But I go, I'm in disagreement with that. I want a utopia universe. I'm not playing that game. That's what I say.
Yeah. Yeah. What you focus on, you create. So let's talk about angel incarnates and what they create here on Earth. So what is an angel incarnate, and why are you here on Earth at this time, Tamara?
The same reason you are here, Vaughn. And, it's interesting. I guess a few years ago, I would have thought a lot of this is fantasy or nonsense or so forth. But now I understand through a lot of past life, in between lives, and also DNA activations and so forth, as well as a lot of astral travel. But that I have full memory, not only on being other planets and so forth, but also being from the celestial realm. And I have worked with the realm of the Christ consciousness, or Sananda, or Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, for many, many, many times. And a lot of them, we don't have to do that anymore. But even early on, he was here on Earth, and it was not like it was not a sexy job I had. I was one of the apostles, but not one of the good looking ones. I was old and decrepit. I was old and decrepit. It was awful. I mean, wore the same. It was nothing sexy about it. But anyway, I do remember in detail being with him. And also it started coming out with DNA activations. I had been talking to Astra, the Galactic Federation, who also talks to Yeshua, then Saint Germain, and then angels, and now the Elohim. And I realized that as I'm doing so, I'm getting physical manifestations, seeing UFOs in this world, and then I'm getting actual evidence. And the reason being is a couple of reasons why anyone, whether you're Palladian, whether you're, Arcturian, Lyrian, wherever you're from, chances are most of us are not fully of this planet, especially those at this time that are light workers, are working very hard to do their part, and everything is important. And some people are here just by their presence alone, because their presence, their energy that comes off of them is metaphysical, that permeates into a deeper level that raises the vibration of others. It's kind of like a silent frequency. It's like a dog whistle, but it's that goes off. Then there are others that have different roles, and the celestial beings, they're very, what you would think they are. They're different ones. I've met different ones. Now I know who they are. It's crazy. But there's some that are like seraphim. They're lower levels, and there's some that are higher, that work at higher levels. They're able to do more. They're able to do healings, messages. I've spoken in different languages, really unusual ones like Vietnamese, Egyptian, French from Normandy, no Southern accent. And responding to that person in their language is because that's the natural state of a celestial. It took me a long time to figure this out. I just thought, wow, that's unusual. And so when I say it, I don't really know, but the person knows. So the healings, as well as glowing, which has come up a few times with my DNA. We laughed about, Fresh Baby knew about a lot of these angelics. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Angels, and you witness some angels that I have too, that actually there's different kinds that can actually form a body and be here and kind of like a tourist looking around. And there's others that have celestial human hybrid that are, like myself, that are here, they're out there. You can tell they're just a
Mhm.
little bit different. Some are quiet and some are soft. Some are really outgoing. Some are like full of life, and love beer and sugar. You know what I'm saying? They're different. They're like, wow, this is human. This is cool. And you can also choose the dark thing if you're that. I highly recommend against it because that's really taking you off track of the whole let's help humanity, progress. But they're generally here because they can do multitask. You're talking about multiverse. I do time travel and I help people between time, and I'll stop and reverse time and do things. One of the coolest things, because I like evidence, is one of the things that I'm very busy at night, like you. But one of the things that I've gotten it a couple times. There was a lady, I don't speak Spanish. She's from Argentina, and I had a friend who's Hispanic. I said, can you come translate an email I got about 5 years ago? And she said, sure, I'll come by. And she goes, I got to stop by. Yeah, I'll stop by and look at it. And basically she said, I visited her in the astral, said her husband's okay on the other side, told her some stuff, how much she loves her and everything's going to be fine. And to get in touch with her, because I'm the Southern Belle. This happens a lot. Okay. And then people say, wait a minute, you were in my dream. And which means I knew I was going to see him beforehand. And I said, what did I tell you? He said, well, there was something dark in there. He said, be gone in the name of the divine. And, whatever. I said, it sounded really like, Charleston Heston, part of the Red Sea. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like something I would say.
And you just have fun with it. What movie line is going to work here?
It was kind of intense. And so, but yeah. And then I had a guy at the gym and my treadmill wouldn't work. And I said, I can't get it. I think, and he said, you got to restart it. And he goes, hi, I'm from Mexico. I'm a doctor there, but I'm here 3 months. I said, hi. He seemed very friendly and a very nice smile. And he started telling me about his angel experiences. And then he got real quiet and he looked at me. I said, what? He goes, well, and I said, you have something strange to tell me. What is it? And I said, look, things don't bother me. You can just tell me. And he goes, well, you were in a dream. I was in a dream. He said, I was having this dream and Jesus was there. And I said, I was standing with him, but I look better than I do now. I'm very angelly. He goes, yes. I was like, I know, I get it all the time. So we can be here in physical form, but we experience the human suffering, again, as temporary, and we don't have to suffer. There's a better way to do things.
Yeah.
We can end this cycle. We can all end this cycle of suffering and say, you know what? Let's love each other. How about let's love each other because we've all known each other. We've all had incarnations with one another. And we're playing this silly game like, I hate you. You just like me. Come on. That's not true. We actually really, on the other side, the ether side, and even in the angelic heavenly, we love each other. And if we were kinder to ourselves and one another, that all this creepy bad stuff would go away. You know why? Because they would just embarrass themselves, because everyone would be super nice and they would and the bad people that are out there in this world would just really be showing their butt. It would look bad and everybody would be like, wow, you should be embarrassed. Look how you behaved. And everybody would move forward. So I think this dichotomy that we used to live by, it's false. It's not real. It's a tin man. It's a stack of dominoes getting ready to fall. This is not who we are. We're powerful spiritual beings, and we're all created as beautiful beings. As Christ tells me, he said, we're all beautiful flowers. He said, if I gave you a bouquet of daisies, how boring would that be? But if I gave you African violets and Gerber daisies and hot pink, and he started naming all these flowers. He said, how beautiful would it be? And that's how I see everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. The thing in Buddhism is we say that there needs to be duality in the experience. It needs to be up and down, right and left. Yes, there's good and bad, but you're going to have less bad. That still fits the mold. Good and less bad. So, raise the bottom up a little bit. Okay. We don't have to be so far down there. Raise it up. Less bad.
No, exactly. And I think
it still provides that polarity to learn something new from those options.
Right. And even if you look at galactic history and so forth, there is counter intention. But I think when we feel there's too much density too much adversity. And even when the average person feels it, the balance is off.
Yeah.
We need to be spiritually mature and take care of ourselves and get as mentally, spiritually, and emotionally healthy as we can. And then by just us, if all we did was just do that for ourselves, out of the love for ourselves and the life we have, it would amplify to everybody else. Because you would be carrying around garbage. And it's like you would get rid of that and people would feel free, and then they could get rid of their garbage. So I think that we're working on increasing the balance where it's more love in this world. I don't know if we can entirely get rid in these dimensions some of the duality, and also we must be slightly hard-headed because we obviously need duality to learn.
We need duality to learn, but the thing is that, I mean, that if it's too much polarity, if it's too far into the sides, each side, it's really hard to come into balance. Balance comes in when your right hand and your left hand comes right next to each other and touches each other. They don't mold, they just touch each other. And in Buddhism, you put your hands together up to your third eye, and that's the grace. That's the grace. Beautiful. That's the neutrality. That's the middle ground. That's the positive and less negative, because the less negative is on the opposite side of the positive. So there's a lot in that philosophy, but and to be more towards the center, more towards the neutral, is to also be open-minded to look at all the different options and then pick from it. But if you're so far into the extremes, you're so far into seeing all the different options, you're kind of closed-minded a little bit because you're so far into the fringes. That's why it's always recommended just try to stay in the middle. Middle ground is the best. The best.
So you know what Jesus shows me? He I saw him in person in the middle of the road. And I think he was physical. Well, if angels can do it, he can do it. I mean,
what did he look like? It was curiosity.
Right? It was downtown Charlotte, June 18th, 2018. And I was going to a concert and it was still light outside. It was about 6:15. The concert started at 7. We're looking for a parking place. Was not thinking about him. I was looking for a parking place. And then all of a sudden my heart just dropped and I yelled out like Tourette's and I went, "My Lord," angels do serve the commander, which is, he is my commander. And I went, and I didn't see anything, but my soul knew. And I look real teeny in the distance and I see someone. And as we get closer, I'm talking myself out of it. Like, this is crazy. There is no way. Okay. I'm going to a Hall & Oates concert. There's no way. This is like Christ up here. This is stupid. We get closer. He's really handsome. And I'm going, he doesn't.
What does he look like? What does he look like? Girl, tell me.
Look like anyone. He didn't look like any particular one person. He didn't look like, he's black, white. He looked like his own self, but he did have a tan. He did have yellow in his skin, a really pretty yellow tan skin. And
kind of Middle Eastern, like a lighter Middle Eastern.
Yeah, lighter Middle Eastern.
Lighter Middle Eastern.
But really glowy and golden. It was real pretty. And as I got closer, I thought he was a model because his hair looked really perfect. And it was
it straight or kind of curly?
It was a little wavy.
A little wavy.
Really well kept, like it was groomed. And it was a little
it looks fresh baby new.
He had fresh baby new going on because he looked too perfect. I thought this is not, I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just my words. Okay. It's Tamara's words. He looked like almost too perfect, like a metrosexual. And I was looking for jewelry and stuff because he looked too perfect. He looked like he was going in a modeling session, but I looked and I didn't see any tattoos. I didn't see any jewelry. And I looked at his teeth. They were gorgeous. I mean, he just looked perfect. I don't know how else to say. Even his clothes, I don't know, tunic, but it looked modern. It was a tunic to his thighs with pockets, but it was like perfectly pressed. It was a white, but off-white. And then he had on pants that were like a dark brown green, but he had sandals, but they were not Jesus sandals like you would imagine. They were like 2 bands, perfect. And his feet looked like he just had a pedicure. Like guys' feet don't look that good. No offense, man. Guys' feet don't look that good.
We were just talking about this before about I call it fresh baby new, because when you come across these people, it's like the only time in my life that I ever come across anybody who has perfect complexion. You have no wrinkle. Your eyes are perfectly white. Like you've never had a negative thought in your life. You don't have any
No
wrinkles.
flaws.
It absolutely no flaw. You're like a flawless body is when you're freshly born. You're fresh baby new.
Yeah.
All babies come out just perfect because it's like, oh, you don't even have a negative thought
And they
or
smell
anything.
good.
And they smell good and look good. The skin's perfect. And then over time, they get the sunspots and maybe some wrinkles. The eyes don't go as white as so much, but aging. But imagine that pristineness of your body as a baby, but as an adult. Like,
He's exactly right.
How do you
look too
live
perfect?
to that age of adult
That's true.
without ever being blemished or affected by reality? I'm telling you, fresh baby new.
Makeup. It looked like if you put the flawless makeup where they do lights, it looked it had an inner glow, but he was as solid. And when I got up close, at this point, I went through everything I could think it couldn't be. And then when I got close and looked at his face, I had this strange experience. I started hysterically laughing and crying. I was so euphorically, I was high, man. I was so high. I was like, whoa. And I looked because it was the presence. And when I looked at him, he had no expression except for purity. He just looked at purity. It was just purity. I can't explain it. I only know babies that are pure or puppy dogs, but he had an expression of purity, like all is well. He just looked straight. And a normal person will be like, why are you acting crazy? I was literally over the back of the seat with my butt up in the air. I had a long dress on, looking at him. And then I said, and I hit my husband on the back. He said, look. And then when I turned back, he was gone. He couldn't have left that fast in the middle where the grass is between the two roads. He couldn't have left that fast, but he was a solid. But the higher level beings, even angels, they can create bodies. That's different than the celestial ones that are like me, that are part hybrid, that decide to be here, like people that have Pleiadian or Syrian that come here. That's different. They've actually been born in a body, and they've manifested into part of their consciousness into that baby body and have grown here and had life experiences. But these are people that fresh baby new we're talking about. They could just bam show up. Like I'm sure Yogananda could probably bam, he could show up. I mean, or Confucius, bam, if he wanted to, he could go bam, he could just show up because they are more ascended. They can create a body.
Yeah. They pop in. There's lots of folklores about these ascended masters who have mastered consciousness and the multiverse and existence, that they can just pop in and pop out wherever they want to for the experience. If I had that ability, I'd probably pop into a lot of concerts. Go from one really good concert to another, one really good, that would be my vacation.
This is so funny because people said, why was he there? Okay. First I thought, well, I don't know. I guess he loves me. Want to check in. I don't know. Encouragement. But then I thought about it. I thought he was kind of dressed for a concert. He could have been coming with us.
Yeah. It's like the person you're sitting next to in a concert might actually be one of these higher beings. They're just coming down or an angel. Yeah, there's a lot of different beings that they could be, but the thing is that they come fresh baby new. Like the clothes never had a wrinkle, the shoes never had a stain. They never had a blemish, they never had a sunspot. Don't got no wrinkles.
They look
so
close
pure
enough, right? They're close enough. They look human.
They kind of pass.
They can pass, but there's something that
but when you look closer.
There's something off. They're too
fresh.
Perfect.
You too fresh.
You're too fresh. Like a waxy. It's like a dewy look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's the bioluminescence they carry with them, and they pass as humans, but there's something that's off. But you can pick that up with you ever seen a human? You go, they don't look human. They look like an alien. They probably are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the same thing with that too. You can also sense like they're doing an okay job at being human, but they don't look. You ever looked at someone and said, God, they look odd. They don't really look human. I don't think they're entirely human. And I think it's just us being observant, and it just makes the world really kind of more exciting and bigger.
Once you get into the higher consciousness and you start really observing reality, and you know what you're looking at, you can pick apart the visitors from the homegrown locals.
Oh yeah, and you like to mess with them now, really? And
I do mess with them.
I
do miss them.
How long? And what kind of job do you have really now? Okay.
Yeah, but hey, this ain't no 21st century witch hunt. I'm not interested in that kind of experience.
Oh no,
I'm just more kind of a amused observer. Now let's talk about your ET family, because you said you're a starseed. So yes. Do you remember your previous incarnations in different planets or dimensions? I mean,
very much so.
So what's your ET family from?
Well, it's funny. Before I answer that, I'll say that we've all had many different families, not only human families, but on other planets. So I have run reptilian, Arcturian, blue avian. I do remember on Earth being a priestess in Atlantis. Very vivid detail. It's very upsetting to even talk about. It was good times. Then it went to poo. It went boop. It just blew up. It was awful. But what I recall that's closest to
You're Atlantean? You're Atlantean reincarnate? Yeah. I'm Lemurian reincarnate.
That's okay. We're
back water. Together again.
We both love water. And, I remember also being a Lemurian, but it was Atlantis that carried, I was one of the 12 priestesses that powered the city. And then we work with the aquatics in the water. But I also remember being Arcturian in the temple and working with water and fire and elements and powering like a generator right through the top of the temple. So I remember the reptilian being in charge of an entire planet, and I was sitting on a podium, but the podium was this city. It was almost like a whole city. It was a spaceship that I'm talking to the people down below and trying to get them to go along with brotherly love, with helping another planet that was starving. It was a different race. They were really pitiful. And they were like, no, they'll get healthy and they'll take us over. I'm like, no, they won't. They can barely walk. We're better than that. So I was learning from a Pleiadian, and many years I've served as an ambassador for the Galactic Federation. And actually, I said that was one of the secrets of Scientology. I didn't know. Who knew? I was at an event. I just blurted it out. They're like, I didn't even take any classes or anything. I just remember this stuff. And I remember the tragedy that happened, which we don't want again. We don't want to blow up Earth or anything. We don't need to be blowing up planets. And luckily we have our star family looking out for us, and they're not going to let that happen. But I do remember that. And I remember going back even further and
so really quick. So the World War III, Armageddon, future prophecy, that kind of stuff. You're saying that the ETs are not going to let it happen.
They will not.
There's too many of their kind that's incarnated into this experience. It will not. Okay.
It's not going to happen. Now, that's the way I understand it. And I've had Aster come to me several times and say that's not going to happen. But there's a free will thing, as you know, with most religions, or universal laws, or the law of one, or whatever you want to say, or what is Hermetic, philosophy. You have to have free will. You can't do anything against people's free will. And so that kind of action, they've already disengaged nuclear bombs before. They're not going to let this happen. I've already had visions. They said, if it does, they're all in the sea too. They're just going to come out. It's going to be awesome. They're our family. I think it would be awesome. It'd be wonderful, but they're not going to do that unless, some powers that be act a little nutty. They're not going to let that happen. And chances are we won't even see it. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you've seen this, but one of the things I just came across on Gaia on Cosmic Disclosure, they had David Adair on, and he said that the Mayan calendar on the 12th, December 12th, 2012, we really were supposed to die. There were 3 or 4 solar flares the size of football fields coming toward the Earth. There's no way to avoid them. And then all of a sudden, he was a physicist. they weren't there. He goes, I don't know how that happened. I find it impossible that it diverted Earth, but something interacted and stopped it. So we should have all been gone around the world, but we're here. So we're going to finish this whole Aquarian age. We're going to move forward. There are certain things that can change time and dimension, like I'm telling you, but this will not happen. This raising of energy, there's different ways it's going to happen. There is not an end game. There are people that say, oh, in the Bible or prophecy or this or that. That is just one timeline. That is one alternative. But the timeline that I see on this is not going to occur.
Right. So, in Buddhism, I like to drop a little bit Buddhism podcast. In Buddhism, 2012 is the year 2555 Buddhist era calendar. And 2555 is, like, if you're into angel numbers, 555, it's a changeover. Okay. And in 2012, the Mayan calendar had documented, but many indigenous tribes worldwide in that year did what they called the awakening ceremony. Except for some Western religions didn't, because they cut off the route to that. So if they didn't cut off the route to that, they would have done it too. But chiefs of Easter Island, Native American chiefs, Hawaiian chiefs, Buddhists, temples all over the world, Mayans, so many indigenous tribes that kept the information about the changeover of Earth's cycles, her 25,900, I think, year cycle, when she goes to different cycles and iterations of her spiritual growth. 2012 was that timing. And so all the indigenous tribes didn't do anything. They just acknowledge the changeover of Earth into her next cycle. And her next cycle is higher frequency. Yeah. When Earth changes a frequency into a higher frequency, just like when you look at a fan and you increase the speed, the frequency of the speed of the fan, you no longer see the fan blades moving around. It becomes invisible. It's existing in a higher dimension.
Yes.
So when Earth raises her frequency, according to the 2012, 2555 Buddhist era calendar, changeover of Earth's new cycle, she raised her frequency. And as she raises her frequency, we go up to higher dimensions, and boom, you're in a new space. That's how it works. You can call it New Earth, but she's doing it in a way that gives people time to work on their issues, to raise their frequency and heal the 3D dramas, because you can't bring that gunk with you. Yeah. So all that stuff is going to come up and force you to deal with it, because you can't bring it with you to the higher dimensions. So she's kind of doing it in a slower time frame, just to give people time. But eventually you won't have time. So, but right. That's what you were saying about that. That falls right into line with the 2012 awakening ceremonies that many indigenous tribes around the world did.
Right. It's amazing how we can come from different perspectives.
Talk about the same thing.
And it is the one perspective, because truth is truth.
Yeah. Some people call it the rapture, but they have a very scary way of seeing it. One will be here and the other will be not, because the other one is a higher frequency. When you go to higher frequency, the other person is in a different dimension, and now they're no longer next to you.
Well, so, you know what? It's funny. Real quick to add to this, you might find this interesting. I don't know why, but I had this fella. I get my guides. Hey, get this guy, okay? And it was Sergio Magnaya, and he has a book, The Toltec Prophecies, that was on Hay House. So I got him on. He lives in Mexico and the UK, and he goes, I don't know why I don't do interviews. I was like, I don't know, but I want to do one. I'm like, okay. So I read his book, and it's got, some native elements, Toltec. So it's different, but it's very fascinating, but it's basically saying similar to what we're saying. He said the energy will raise, and he talked about the Mayan calendar, and he also works with a Pleiadian. It's all through that. He realized that he is a chosen person in the Toltec world, and he has a Pleiadian mentor, and said, I've been working with your family 5,000 years, my race of people. Anyway, it's in the book, but he says the Mayan calendar, what's happening. He talks about the ascension, what you said. He said, there were people like you said, Mother Gaia will give plenty of time for people to deal with their drama, get rid of it, and just accept the love that they are, move forward, and new, exciting. You can say Aquarian age, but it is a new age. I don't know what people say. I don't like New Agers or New Age. It's going to be a new beginning. It's a great opportunity. And so he said, what will happen? The people that resist it, whether they want the old ways, they don't like this, maybe. There could be all sorts of reasons. They want the drama, they want the negativity, whatever it may be. They're just going to die. And I said, die? He goes, well, their body won't be able to, they're going to be a lower density. They're just going to drop off. And then he said, based on the Toltec prophecies, and be brought back in a family that's higher spiritual, that they can help them, teach them and bring them into this new world. Because I'm not saying that'll be a lot of people. I don't know, but some people that will resist, they will just, I said, what will happen? He goes, well, their bodies just won't be able to acclimate here because they're at a different vibrational frequency. He's based on his book. And I'm thinking, isn't that somewhat similar to what you just said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is the same thing as what we said. And the other thing is, in a lot of Buddhist, folklores, we talk about Shambhala and other higher dimensional civilizations that are in high frequencies. And if you are in those higher frequencies, you can walk in and have no problem. If you are not, you'll walk through the nature portal and you won't see anything. It just won't be available to you. It is your Merkaba that is the key. It is your aura field. It is your consciousness that is the key codes to all these experiences. And guess what's in those higher dimensions of consciousness? Higher beings, quote, quote, aliens that you actually want to hang out with.
Oh, I really want to hang out. When I saw I've seen a couple US, really big ones within the past year, especially after this DNA. It's really funny because I've had crazy physical things happen.
Right.
And when I first saw it, my husband's, he's normal. He's not like me. I mean, he's just a normal, sweet person. And he goes, look, we were on the way to Asheville, North Carolina. He goes, look, that's in the USA. He goes, look at that. There's about 4 or 5 fleet of UFOs. Now, I mean, we knew what they were, but we were looking at it like we're looking at a flower, like it's no big deal. He goes, I'm like, yeah, look at that. And then he goes, look at that. And it was huge. It was right by my window in the car. It was massive. And I'm going, wow, isn't that interesting? And it was like, it was big and it was glowy like a fireplace. And you know what I did? Know what people go, I'll get my camera or where. That's not what I did. I didn't even think about that. I'm going, hello, friends. I miss you. I love you. And then I'm like, and I wanted them to land. I got really upset because they didn't land. I was depressed for about a week. And then I started getting all these light code symbols and all this stuff. I could obsessed with drawing all this. Apparently they're Syrian. But anyway, I really wanted them to land. And then I started getting computer stuff like Morse code on my computer. When I would do interviews, it would go, wah, 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 wah. I got one 2 weeks ago. I said, hold on a minute, we're getting a transmission, but they know what we're doing because they're connected by our frequency and they know who we are by thought and they know what's going on. They probably laughed at your new baby fresh. They probably think that's hysterical.
Yeah, well, that's a new nickname for them. It's a BTS. It's the next BTS #1 hot single. New baby fresh.
New baby fresh.
You get to get your new baby fresh look on.
from DJ Von Galt. Exactly. I mean, but they do. They follow us, and I you would think that would not be a normal reaction, but I got really, really sad when they left, and I felt so much tremendous love for them. I wasn't tricked. I know what love is. I felt a lot of love.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of people are like, I want to see UFOs. I want to meet the aliens. Okay. This is akin to when white people met black people and vice versa for their first time. It's all special and new, but then the integration and the living among each other has been a challenge. So let me ask you this. If they came out and they showed themselves and they weren't beautiful Pleiadians that looked like supermodels, but they were like reptilians, or they had scaly things, or they were in some kind of shape or body that was not very pleasing to the eye, or how would you feel?
I don't know. I've asked myself that. I've told them, I said, look, when you come get me, I had a conversation. I said, don't get me in a beam where they, like an elevator where they beam you up. I said, that's disrespectful. I've been working for you for a while. I need something a little better. So I had a friend I was talking to, Joan of Angels, and she was saying that she saw one of the Nordics in the backyard, and they have these little taxi shuttles. I said, that'll do. But I've told them, I said, what am I willing to be able? They already know what you're willing to accept. What am I willing to accept?
Well, that's why sometimes they shapeshift.
That's what they
what you like. They're like,
yeah,
okay, you like the tall whites that look like supermodels. You could take that. You won't take this green looking
lizardy thing, right?
Ant or lizard or whatever the deal is and stuff. Because we do have our prejudices. Many people do. And so it's like, okay, now you made first contact. Let's fast forward. Now you make first contact. You've got into the higher frequencies. You can communicate with these beings of higher frequencies of the multiverse and of the universe. And they don't all look like supermodels or angels on how you want them to look like. Are you going to be okay if they're your neighbor? Or they're hanging out or dating your kids?
I think what it is, I still think that there are certain, even like now, indigenous, like people that might live in the outback and live in the deserts of, Australia, they're going to be really different than certain parts of China or the US, right? So we're going to gravitate with kind of a middle ground of what we're used to. But I have to say, getting along with people and so forth, when I did it's kind of funny, but when I did my ancestry, I was like, whoa, like my family literally has slept with everybody. And the thing is, oh my God, like Japan, China. I knew we had a lot of Chinese looking people in our family. I knew it. And we really do. And then
you have great collagen, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But we do have a lot of Chinese people. And even like the blondes, they have the eyes. And I'm like, it came from somewhere. Then we've got Nigeria in there. We've got Vikings. And so I realized, all right, look, if you have something that if you're, halfway attracted by family's interested. So as humans, we adapt, right? We adapt. We're okay with that. But to have like an insectoid with a thorax, that might be, off-putting. I think what they would do is they know these things might frighten people. So I think they would have ambassadors from their planet come first, and there's safe point certain people. I think that's why they've been working on the hybridization program for some time. So it doesn't freak people out how some of these beings look. And there are people that are ambassadors, I'm going to be honest, like me and you, because you want to go run up on the beach and hug a reptilian. I want to like get these strangers to totally land so I can get in the ship. I've already told my husband I'm getting on. I said, you can come, but I'm getting on. I'm just going to tell you I'm going. And we're the ones we're open, right?
We're open.
We're the humans that are open, and then they're the hybrids, and then they know not to freak us out too much. They already know that.
Okay. So that's one of the conversations, the higher level conversations in Buddhism is that, okay, you raise your frequency, you spiritually evolve, you heal all your dense issues, you learn the life lessons of those dense issues so that you don't recreate the issues that cause the denseness in your energy field. Okay, great. You've done all the basics. And now you get to play in a bigger playground in the cosmos of all the other beings, and they don't look like you. So now you're in a whole new arena of how to explore the multiverse, explore existence together with an even bigger family and bigger circle of friends that look completely different and completely alien to you. So that is going to be, and the freak show factor is always exciting. I call it the freak show. Everybody wants the freak show. But then when you get past the freak show, it becomes your everyday. Are you going to be okay to exist in that level of existence? Like Star Wars, Star Trek, like that, all that sci-fi stuff. And over there, everybody's like, oh yeah, just don't normal this, Ewok and whatever, all these different versions. And it's normal to them because it's normal to every day. And at some point you get used to things because it's the everyday. Okay. But until you get used to the part, the concern about humanity is that we're going to repeat the feuding that we do with the racism and prejudices and the human lower consciousness melodramas. But with species of the galaxy who are like, this is so low consciousness, like petty stuff.
I'm worried about that too. I'm worried that that the positive side is like, oh, we're not at war now, not the racists. We love one another. And I'm like, and that'll be good. But then you're going to have people that are just going to want to reject, because I see them in the next 2 years. There's going to be some massive something happening with that. Okay. And I don't mean from the government, meaning like I feel like something's going to happen. So it's going to change people's consciousness, but are there those that are going to be attackful? But see, they think through telepathy, right? Because they're higher consciousness. So they've already played out. If we're doing timelines, they're doing timelines. They've already played things out. I wouldn't say they're more intelligent than us, but I would say they're more mindful and there's spiritual interest. And they would already know, just like we know not to talk with some people about certain topics. I think they know where their boundaries limits are with us. But the other aspect, what about the people like us that are real excited about it? We can't be super excited. We have to be diplomatic, because there's some people who might not understand or be frightened. So we need to be able to be understanding of both, and we need to have diplomacy. Yeah,
working on comfort levels. Well, I tell you one thing: government leaders and CEOs are not good ambassadors. They're the worst to represent humanity. You get a working mom. There you go. A working mom, working dad. There you go. That's the best representations.
Just the average person, and I think
just the average person, the elder of the tribe. That's the person. Bypass the governments, bypass the CEOs.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think that this is going to be bigger, and they don't care about stuff like that anyway. So I think that.
What's your consciousness level? 600, 700? Give us all the 800 and above people. That's who should be the ambassadors.
I actually think that
all celebrities,
they're
trash them. They're not even up at 600.
I think they're doing that now, quite honestly, Vaughn, because they've got you. They know, look, they don't need to prep you. You're like, yeah, I mean, they may need to tell you a few things. You're like, okay, got it. They look scary, but they're cool. They're actually very okay, fine. I'm cool.
Media, don't even go to them. Go to the podcasters.
The podcasters, you can see some of them.
Go to the podcasters who's talking about this stuff.
They like live it. You know what I mean? They live the life.
They live the life. They know the deal. Bring the breaking news to the podcasters. Give them the exclusive, spaceship, MTV Cribs walk around.
Oh my gosh.
Have them interview. Have them interview. Bypass all the major news stations. Low consciousness. You're just going to, won't be able to come. You won't even be able to come into the spaceship because it's just going to hurt you.
They're like, they'll know the frequency. And they're like,
the frequency be like, it
feels yucky. And they'll know their ulterior motive ahead of time. They can't pull any punches. Well, I think you're right.
I think it's going to be funny.
When you were in high school, how they had foreign exchange programs?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to have. We're going to have, hey, look, Vaughn, we want you to go to Arcturus, and we want you to go there, and we want to take notes. I want you to interview the people and what the life is like. And then, how do you think a month is? Well, would you be willing to do that? We'll make sure that you eat the kind of food that suits your body and you get the rest.
You better have me in a portal to come back that I didn't miss anything more than a month in Earth time.
You could say,
because I still got my life I want to live. I want to see my kids grow and all that. So you better respect my Earth time frame.
You could say, look, I would do that if you could make it like I'm only gone like 1 day to a week Earth time. That's it. Then I would go. But if they, you know what I'm saying? You'd have to.
I bring back this content. I bring back all this good content.
I'll bring back all this good content, but I'm not really gone that long, which you can do that. So I think there'll be people that and both.
That'd be great.
And they'll have ambassadors that'll come here and help. And so it's
Tamara, that would be great. Like you and I, we go do these excursions with them. we're only gone maybe like 2 weeks. We bring back a year worth of content and we're on vacation for the next year. So just put it on the cycle for the next year.
Yeah.
Every episode's already preset. We only did 2 weeks of work, but stick it on the round table and let it run. I'm on vacation for the next 12 months or 11 months.
Oh gosh. Exactly. I have a friend I want to bring. We want to have a chick retreat and so forth. But then you have to worry about like, when you go to certain places, their environment's different about being able to breathe and certain things could be off-putting or give you vertigo or whatever it would be. And, you would have to work through, that you would be assured that your body rudiments would be in place and that you would be and your family and all that. But I think that how it will roll out, I don't know, but these are the mechanics these are things that would have to happen. They would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's a relationship. Anytime you develop a relationship, right, you have to get to know someone, the get to know you stage. So just like with anything, I'd say discernment. Not all humans are good. I'm worried about humans misbehaving, quite honestly. And
that's my concern too. Is I always ask, do you think humanity is even ready for this kind of? I know they sit there and like drum and do all this, like we're going to send somebody to the moon, we're going to build these spaceships, and we're going to investigate this. They do all this work, and really the answer is in a portal in the backyard. and the alien is like the neighbor or something. It's already there. But anyways, when they are able to have these interactions, these higher dimensional interactions, and they are of the frequency to have these interactions, are they going to be respectful? Well,
free will. Some will, some won't. I just hope that I hope, I pray, whatever, bring a rabbit's foot, whatever. I hope they don't embarrass themselves and the whole world. I hope that we are at a consciousness level that we are able to handle it. But it may be this. It may be that if the ETs, ultra dimensionals, are not, if they're not feel like we're 100% ready yet, they may start working with people that are, right? And then slowly integrate that way. They may not just go wide open mass, here we are, rival kind of situation. They may do it in small groups and small things, because they pick a few people and they go, hey, we're coming our ship here, bring back some data. And if you have enough people coming back with data and you go, wow, they're here, why'd they pick you? You're like, because I'm open.
Because I'm open, I work on my consciousness, and you just and then they'll be like, "Well,
this all the time."
and then they'll be like, "Well, shoot, I want that ticket to Disneyland too, so I'm going to work. I'm going to work on healing my 3D issues. I'm going to work on raising my frequency. I'm going to work on getting my aura field to get that golden ticket to have those experiences too. So it might be something like that. I mean, great conversation. I love that. Let's I know we originally wanted to talk about seeking heaven and talking about deceased loved ones. So let's give people your process for how you talk to deceased loved ones, for the ones who aren't going to make it to that level.
I think that it all starts with love from the heart. I think that one of the things that we've all probably had people and pets that have crossed over, we at least know someone, all of us. And when we it's easier if you can think of someone in love, so people, I've had readings, people go, I don't like that person. And I'm like, well, okay, be nice, because they wouldn't be over there if they didn't work through their issues. They may want to say, they're sorry. Is that especially what they'll generally do in readings is they'll have someone that they have a heart connection with. And sometimes it's the person you expect. And sometimes they'll have someone that could have been maybe you in your childhood. Could have been a janitor that was kind to you, but they're bringing the people that whatever. And then that's really evidential and cool when that happens, I think, because it's so out there, but it's connected through the love. And it's like, if you took a picture and you held it up of someone that you love very dearly, like your grandmother, your great grandmother. Okay. And you go, wow, look how beautiful she was. Look at her jewelry. Look at so-and-so. The minute that you're looking at it and saying, wow, look at that. She's knowing you're doing that. So you've already brought her right there because you're connected through the love. And so it's very easy to connect. So people that want to connect, is that, first of all, fear does not work for you. Fear, you can't have fear. And think about it. Why would you have fear if it's your loved one, somebody you really love? Well, how do I know if I'm being tricked? Well, first of all, one thing you could do is the, grounding, God surround me in your love. And I put a white light God protection bubble. I have your holy archangel surround me. And then, I put the intention, only love and support, only holy, loving messages from those that I love. And that's what you're going to get. It's your intention. But if you connect to the love, most people feel the presence of a loved one. I would say most normal people, but they do it and they invalidate it as soon as they get it. They may be thinking about them and then maybe the lights flicker. They may be thinking about them, the curtain move. They may be, there's something always there, thinking about them when they see birds outside their window, but or a song comes on that was their song, but they always dismiss it. And I feel so sorry for the spirit people trying so hard to get your attention that they love you. And then these people are, that are blowing it off because you don't want to, how do I say it? Some supernatural experiences doesn't mean that it's spooky. Some of them beautiful and they're rare and you should honor that. So our loved ones are always, they pop in and check on us. They're not stuck here. They're in a higher dimension, but they can multitask and be here and check on us. And they just want our best. They know it's difficult here in this dimension. And they're cheering us on. That's why I always say we all have a fan club in heaven. But if we listen and we feel them around, they sometimes will send us their energy to raise our energy when we're down. Also, pets do that. I've had lots of pets come through and they'll just kind of get near you or be at the end of the bed when you're feeling really blue and sad to raise your energy. But we really do have not even just in this world, but on the other side, such I say team God, because it's all part of that, celestial higher realm that's looking out for our higher interest and make sure that we accomplish the things in life that we need to on our journey. And some of those things are difficult lessons.
Yeah. We've been speaking about some of the difficult lessons that you've overcome, that many people can relate to and use to find healing in the traumas that they live through, so that they can get to those higher dimensions of consciousness and finally let this go out of their aura field, stop holding down their frequency with these old unresolved traumas that they haven't fully known. Not that they don't want to address it. Most people want the healing, they want it addressed. They just don't know how to move beyond it. So hearing other people who have these experiences and how they go through it gives them options and ways to try to address their own issue. So there's a lot of different ways in which people can connect to the deceased loved ones, send energy healing to the deceased loved ones, or ask for energy healing from the deceased loved ones in the spirit world. And you actually teach your techniques for how to do this in your Ascension school. So what can we expect to learn in the Academy of DivineWisdom.com, which the links are in the show description if you guys want to register for that. I always say you should have more than a couple modalities in your pocket.
Well, thank you. Yes, I have some of my transmissions on there, and then also courses. And and I'm really excited about my school. It's something that my guides have been really pushing me to do for a long time. So I'm really excited it's finally here. And it's actually at a much higher level of your people. We were talking about portals and time travel and things that, I would love for you to also be a guest teacher on there, because it would be really up your alley. But my first course that I'm launching is November 14th. And what it is a series. It's called Channeling the Cosmic Christ. Let me start over. The Introduction to the Cosmic Christ Channeling Course. And what that does just brings you to the higher celestial realms. And in that realm, I didn't grow up Catholic, there'll be who's going to be there? Jesus, Mother Mary, the angels, the angelics. Now, why I like to start with that is it gives people comfort. Now, obviously, other religious figures are in that area too, right? So you can, if Christ is not your person to connect to, that's a loving presence. But there's others in that realm, right? If you want to connect to someone else in that realm, like I said, a rabbi, Mother Mary, somebody else, the higher realms, then you get the other cinematic, you can get others as well. So this helps give people, especially the angelic realm, it helps them as a good grounding force. So when you start going into channeling, so you can go into higher dimensions and higher portals. And to me, when you work with the angelic realm, you're not going to have any problem moving forward channeling, whether you channel whoever. I channel the Syrian Angelic Light Council, Astra, the Galactic Federation. They're very loving. It comes in love, but because I'm protected by this golden white light, my Merkaba.
Merkaba, your aura field is your Merkaba.
Merkaba that Jesus and Astra gave me, seriously. That they're
your mandala. In Buddhism, they call it your mandala. Hinduism is your Sri Yantra.
Okay. But
all the same stuff.
Yeah, this gives people
aura field
of peace, right? This angelic realm. And then if someone said, Tamara, hey, I like, that's Christ loving, but I would also, that's good. But working with the angelic realm, and to be able to go the deeper levels, people feel safer. And then from there, once they get that way that it feels, that very high vibration, divine love consciousness, that is that Christ consciousness that permeates all of us. It's just a love flow. They're going to feel really grounded into doing other types of things. But I think it's really necessary because you don't really get yourself in trouble when you work with the higher celestial realms. You're good.
Right. And what I would say coming from Buddhism is when the student is ready, the teacher will show. Do not discriminate against the teacher that shows. That is the one that is for you. And there is a lesson there for you. And you will have many, many, many different teachers and mentors, not just the ones that you want. You will have ones that you never fathom. Now, the further up you go, back to source, it's just energy.
It is.
It's just energy. You won't even have a form. You also will not have a form. You just have a knowing.
It's true. And I've been formless, and I was pretty content with that. Although it really does help to have a form to get stuff done and go to concerts. And whatnot.
For the physical experience. Yeah.
It does help, and ride race cars and stuff, but it does help. But yeah, so that is one of the things.
You ride race cars?
No, not this time. I don't.
Not this time. I did in high school. I did the high school drags in a black mini skirt.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah. I did pretty good too.
Oh, well, I could see that. You're very high energy. I could definitely see that. No, I am. I did finish. I'll tell you something. Very few people know that I am a black belt and American Hapkido combatives. And I was the only woman that finished in 10 years, which is pretty cool because I'm 5'2" and I'm girly. So they didn't think I'd make it, but I did. And a couple broken bones later. So that's another part of, I became a victor instead of a victim.
There you go. Well, do you have a last message for people, the builders of the fifth dimension Earth? A last message.
Last message. You
got to get one message, Tamara. I know you have a lot to say.
I had two cross. I think that the one that I get right now is that one from the heart. And because I do many channelings, but I'm getting a bit tired, but I do think that the one that I channel a lot, because I hear him all the time, is Christ. And he says often, and it's the most beautiful of advice. It's very simple. And he says, be the love that you were created to be. And if we truly were that love that we were created to be, it would be filled without judgment. And it would just be about being present with each person that you're with and being an expression of that love. And you would find ways to have fun with that, to find ways to different forms of being a presentation of love in the world. So I guess it's more really not a last comment, but a challenge to everybody. How would you express love to people, and how do you do that, and how can you do it better? Because that's who we are. We are love, and everything else is just clutter and confusion to remove you away from the beauty that you already are.
I love that. Well, thank you, baby new fresh Yeshua and Miss Tamara Richardson. Thank you for offering your lifetime of work and sharing your techniques for how to harness our six senses, which anyone can learn, and to communicate with our deceased loved ones. So for more information about Tamara's offerings, books, courses, please visit her website, academyofdivinewisdom.com, and of course, southernbellmedium.com. And thank you kindly to our listeners for listening to another enlightening conversation. Until next time, blessings. Mwah.
Namaste.
Namaste.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension. For more information about today's guest, please go to the show description. For more information about Vaughn's metaphysical work, please go to merkabachakras.com. The views expressed today are for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or replace any medical or legal advice. Don't forget to subscribe for more interviews about the fifth dimension. Until we meet again, blessings.